Hi, my name's Nikki. I'm the Obsessive Bookseller, and welcome to my channel. Today, let's talk about Thunderhead by Neal Schusterman. It's book 2 in the Arc of the Scythe series. It's a young adult trilogy about a host of Grim Reapers. Society has figured out a way to eradicate natural causes of death, and so to avoid an overpopulation program, these Scythes, or Reapers, have to go out and meet a quota and kill a certain amount of people. Kind of grim for a young adult, no pun intended. But as someone who has been admittedly grouchy of young adult novels over the past couple of years, I am pleasantly surprised that I am really enjoying this one. It doesn't have the romance trope. There is a love story in it, but it's definitely not the focus of the story. And I'm really loving the entire concept and how it's being executed. Haha, pun. So good world building for me goes a lot farther than a lot of other story components. If I can latch on to some interesting world building, I'm a little more forgiving of other things. So in this case, I am eating up every detail on the Reapers and how they decide how to choose who to execute. Every one of them has to come up with their own process and evaluation on how they pick who they're going to kill. And I find that incredibly fascinating. I also find the hierarchy and the politics going on really interesting. You have this artificial intelligence being called the Thunderhead that is supposed to be hands-off, and the Scythes are meant to manage themselves, and it can't get involved. At the point in the series, there's one more book to come. I have a lot of questions, but I'm really hoping that it'll be answered in the final book. World building's good, the concept is good, the characters are interesting, there's a lot of fun little profiles, but if the story had one weakness, it would be that the characters lack any sort of depth. I do not feel a connection to any single one of them. When the author describes them going through something, it's from a very arm's distance. Like when someone loses someone close to them in the story, basically it says, oh, they were really sad, but you don't feel any of that. So yeah, it lacks a little bit in that regard. And for that reason, it's keeping me at an arm's distance. And that is why I think overall I'm valuing the series at about a 3 or a 4 star, because while it has a lot of things that it's doing well and it's not annoying me because of a bunch of YA tropes, it does have a few weaknesses. And Thunderhead actually had one of the more interesting endings, a very momentous ending, an excellent cliffhanger. This book did not feel like a filler at all, and I can't wait to see how it resolves in the next book, which is saying something. I think it's worth pointing out that I sang praises for the first book using a little bit of unconventional writing, in the sense that a few plot points happened that I was truly surprised to read. I thought, wow, that doesn't follow the typical storytelling structure at all. I can't believe this happened. And I don't believe this is a spoiler, but the thing that I was so shocked at ended up not really being the case in the second book. So yeah, I sang praises for it not following a certain type of formula, but it did after all. So lost a few points for formulaic. I think overall, the first book was a 4-star read for me. This second book will be a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Had I only been reading young adult books, I think it would be a 4-star, but I'm comparing it to a lot of robust adult fantasy novels, so 3.5 it is. Other books you might like if you enjoyed Scythe: Reboot by Amy Tintera, The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, one of my all-time favorite young adult books. Divergent by Veronica Roth, which, let's face it, if you wanted to read it, you probably already have, or not. Hunter by Mercedes Lackey. Included on the list, it doesn't really have much relation to Scythe, but it's also a young adult fantasy book that scored really high with me. And Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. Thanks so much for joining me on this book review, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.